Welcome to another exciting and informative episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, the place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. And the day is no different. We definitely got a real entrepreneur in the building. Before we get to that entrepreneur, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by Shield Wolf Strongholds, a wealth growth and protection company. When it comes to employment planning, when it comes to estate planning, when it comes to retirement planning, when it comes to life insurance, if your plan ain't Shield Wolf, your plan ain't strong. Visit www.shieldwolfstrong.com. Now to our guests. Sally. Sally was motivated to become a real estate investor when her mom became sick in October of 2018. Sally was 53 and needed to make a change in her life quickly. Now she shares her information weekly in her real estate group, the Win-Win Woman TV. In July 2020, she bought a bank-owned property for $20,000 that would go to auction for $50,000. When COVID restrictions lifted, she knew her capital gains would be $7,140 and researched how the rich paid so little in taxes. This led her to find the business and beneficial spendthrift trust. Please, thank you so much, Sally. And I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Gimon?
Yes, it is. You got it right. Most people want to make it French. All right.
Thank you so much for coming to the Entreprenudist Podcast, Sally Gimon.
I appreciate you having me. So few people have ever heard about the spendthrift trust, and the rich know about it. So I want to help people save U.S. taxes.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely looking into talking a lot about that with you. One question that I asked at the very beginning, is there nothing that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started?
I started real estate investing when I was 53 years old. I wish I knew about the spendthrift trust before I got a $94,000 tax bill in the middle of COVID and had nothing coming in as income. So yeah, there's a lot I wish I knew it beforehand.
What is the spendthrift trust?
It comes from England way back when King Henry VIII, that famous king who chopped off his wives' heads, started the Church of England. He went to go tax the lords and ladies of England, and they went further back to the 13th century to the Magna Carta and said, oh, no, King Henry VIII, we can't do this. It's contract law that came to the colonies while we were still part of England. When our tax structure that we're under went into effect February of 1913, the super rich families of 1913, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Carnegies, and the Kennedys, made sure they could save taxes. Well, between you and me, if they can save taxes, we should be able to save taxes.
If they can do it, we can do it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and a lot of people, because I do a lot of, workshops and things of that nature where I also talk about ways that wealthy people save money on taxes. And one of the first questions that I ask, I say, is there anybody in here that hates when people find loopholes on how to pay taxes? And there's always, at least one or two, right? And then that's when I follow up with, don't be so sure of what you want that you wouldn't accept something better. If you had to choose between them not paying taxes, and when I say not paying taxes, I mean not paying voluntary taxes that if everything is structured correctly, that you don't have to pay. We're not trying to avoid illegal or avoid taxes, but we just don't want to pay the taxes that we don't have to pay. I say, would you rather they not pay those voluntary taxes, or would you rather you learn the secrets yourself? Usually people say they rather learn the secrets themselves.
Exactly. It's so important. And, follow the breadcrumbs that are out there. And, when I got hit on April 4th of 2020, middle of COVID, my 3 properties didn't pay me on April 1st. I had $50,000 saved for my capital gains. And I was told by my CPA I owed $94,000. I mean, I was devastated. Wow. I was doing everything correctly. And I'm like, why do people get away with paying taxes? It took me 5 months to research this. And this is why I'm glad you have me on your podcast, because I want other people to know there is a solution. The Amazons of the world, At the time when Amazon got free land in Staten Island, they turned it down. My brother lost his brewery because his rents went so high, it didn't make sense keeping the brewery open anymore. That's just not fair. The playing field should be level for everybody.
And as this is compared to a lot of other things, because there's a lot of access to knowledge, and a lot of people like to say knowledge is, and usually when you say that, everybody says power. Well, actually, knowledge is only potential power. Applied knowledge is power. And it sounds like you were very motivated because to get a $94,000 tax bill and knowing that, all right, I don't got the money to pay this. It sounds like that forced you to not just learn about this, which a lot of people do. Unfortunately, 99 out of 100 people that listen to this podcast, they're going to be like, oh, that's very good information. And usually only one goes. Is that the reason that made you apply knowledge, is because you were facing such a big bill? Or have you always been the person who learns and applies knowledge?
I'm going to be honest. I learned and applied knowledge. My background was competitive intelligence. I worked for the World Bank for several in the IFC, the only part that makes money. I was the director of research at Monster.com. I always had to tell them to stop, go. But, there had to be a better way. I had read an article about the Rockefeller Spendthrift Trust maybe about 4 years before this all came together. And I'm just like, why did I do something 4 years earlier or before I became a real estate investor? Because I had the knowledge, but it took me 4 years to put into place, which was poor on my part.
What's competitive intelligence?
Competitive intelligence is trying. Have you ever done a SWOT analysis? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and things. So when I was working for Monster.com, the job board, at the time they were buying all these companies to boost their Monster. And I had to give them the go or not go on all the different things. When I was, temporary worker, I wasn't hired by the World Bank. I was working for a staffing company. I was going through all the proposals for the senior vice president, telling him why he should look at something or why he shouldn't look at something. So I was doing the SWOT analysis or the competitive intelligence on different things. So I know how to do research, and when I got motivated, I literally went to bed April 4th, 2020, crying because I knew I needed another $24,000 and I didn't know who to go to ask for help. I woke up the next morning. Have you ever read the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy?
I have not, but I do read a lot of books that talk about using your subconscious mind to manifest and, do things like that.
Exactly. Well, Joseph Murphy's book is from the 1930s, so some of his examples are a little bit old, but he says, put your thought into your head and you'll wake up with something. Next morning, I woke up. I did 7 wholesale deals on bank-owned properties in 2019, paid off all my debt, completely debt-free. I contacted a friend of mine who did HELOCs. So I got a HELOC off my paid-off townhouse, defeats the purpose of being paid off. So I had some money coming in. And then that's when I started researching the Rockefeller Spendthrift Trust. I found everything online. There's a book out there. Have you heard of someone named Garrett Gunderson?
No, I usually am able to say yes, but I like this because you're telling me about people I've never heard of. What about that person?
He had a book called What the Rockefellers Do. I have a paperback copy of it. He had to change the title of the book. It's now called What the Billionaires Do, but he breaks down exactly what the Rockefellers do. They use a special kind of insurance called infinite banking, plus the trust to save taxes and make more money and keep the money in the family. And I'm like, if they can do it, let me get my little. I've got 2 brothers, 2 sister-in-laws, and 7 nieces and nephews. I'm setting them up to survive, to win, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Because what you're talking about is them, because a lot of people bet on a lot of things, right? Yes. People bet on horses, they bet on dogs, but they don't utilize a lot of the things that they absolutely know that's going to happen. What we know that everybody's going to pass away. And we know that there is a vehicle called life insurance. And one thing that people don't know about life insurance is the people in the field, life insurance, because you have life insurance and annuities. Annuities liquidate an estate. Life insurance creates an estate, right?
Also, life insurance is tax-free.
Yes. Internal Revenue Code 72E, 7702, and 101A.
You know your tax code. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So if you and I both know this tax code, why doesn't our CPA and financial advisor planner tell us this stuff?
Very good question. In the United States, there are 1 million active attorneys in the United States. Only 4% are tax attorneys. A textbook tax attorney study in law school is called Scott and Asher on Trusts, 5th edition. 97% of the trusts sold out there. My mom and dad had this. Susie Orman talks about it on PBS television. The family trust or the living trust. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing it's designed is to avoid probate, and then it dissolves when whoever started the trust passes away. This is what the super rich have to save taxes, keep their information private. All lawsuits become frivolous because you're worth nothing. I mean, if you try to sue me right now, I have $7 in my wallet. That's all I have. Everything else is in the trust. And then you leave a legacy for generations after generations. My parents set my 2 brothers and I up to succeed, but then it stopped. And that's when it got, the year after my parents passed away, that's when I got my big tax bill. I'm like, I got to do something better with this.
You got to do something better.
Yes.
There are a whole bunch of trusts out there, and a living trust is great if your goal is to avoid probate. A living trust is essentially a will that avoids probate. And I know a lot of properly structured living trusts do have spendthrift clauses in them, but it sounds like what you're saying is this trust is just strictly it's called the spendthrift trust. It doesn't just have a spendthrift clause. It's the trust itself.
Well, the full name, if you want the full name, it's going to be very long.
I do.
It's irrevocable, so it goes from generation to generation. It's complex. It can hold money from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, decade to decade, century to century. It's discretionary. Whoever's a trustee or trustees can make the rules for all the beneficiaries. There's no infighting. There's no contesting the will. And then the spendthrift has been in front of the United States Supreme Court on 2 separate occasions in 2 different cases, and it's won both times. If you have all 5 elements and have a law firm that can write this for you, the law firm I work on behalf of was started 77 years ago. In 77 years, not a single trust has ever been audited. Paul Benson was a Harvard law professor. Now his grandson and his great-grandson run the law firm, and they're so confident in what they do. If you get questioned by the IRS, they'll defend you free of charge. In 77 years, it's happened one time only, back in, I want to say 1978. One trust was questioned by a senior IRS agent. He went down to Houston where the law firm is, spent 5 hours in the boardroom, approved it, and then sent an unsolicited letter back to the law saying this is how he approved it. Do you remember when Donald Trump debated Hillary Clinton 12 years ago, and Hillary Clinton said to Donald Trump, you don't pay taxes, and he said, because he's smart?
Yes.
His father, Frank Trump, started the Spendthrift Trust in 1972 after Frank and Donald Trump got sued by the city of New York. Frank Trump, there's a newspaper article out there saying, I will never be sued again to do business in the state that I live in. That's why he started the trust.
And that's very good because and that's one of the people that I know people saw in their heads when I asked, do you get upset when people find ways to avoid taxes? So and the way that avoid voluntary taxes, I always got to make sure to clarify that. And one thing that I say, because some people are just stubborn, right? They say not only do I not want wealthy people to avoid taxes, I'm okay with paying taxes myself because I'm a red-blooded American. My follow-up question is typically, do you feel that the government is spending your money wisely? Now, I don't care how red-blooded American you are. I can ask that question 100 times, and 100 times they're going to say, well, I don't think they're spending it wisely. And then my follow-up question to that is, well, if you could have the option, instead of giving it to people who you just admitted aren't spending it wisely, if you had the option to distribute those funds to your own charities, your own family, your own friends, people that you know that you need it, and you can manage it, steward of the money, and you can see the benefit right before your eyes, would you not prefer to do that? They usually say yes.
If you don't mind asking, where do you live?
Jacksonville, Florida. Have
you ever driven the New Jersey Turnpike from Delaware up to New York?
Now, does 95 turn into the New Jersey Turnpike?
I don't think. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure. This past April of 2025, I drove from North Carolina up to New York because I was doing a presentation in New York. I paid to be on the New Jersey Turnpike, and there were potholes bigger than my car in the middle of the New Jersey Turnpike. And I paid $27 to drive on the New Jersey Turnpike. I'm like, where's my money going? Fix these potholes.
So what you're saying is, because a lot of people don't realize when you're paying a toll, that's essentially a tax. When you're paying for a professional license, that's essentially a tax. When you're paying for these things, that's a tax. Let me ask you. Did you get any gas while you were in New Jersey?
I purposely got gas in Delaware because I please forgive me, I'm anal. I checked where the cheapest gas was, and I knew Delaware had cheaper gas than New Jersey. So.
Oh yeah, man, I'm one of those strange people. I don't even look at the price of the gas because I'm like, hey, either way, I got to do it. But one thing that I know that people who either live in New Jersey or ever gotten their gas in New Jersey, and I never looked up why this is the law, but you can't pump your own gas in New Jersey.
I know why.
Why?
I don't remember what year it was, but it was a bunch of teenagers who were filling up the gas tank, and they were smoking around the gas pump. And the gas pump blew up, and New Jersey said that you can't pump your own gas now.
Wow,
that's kind of scary.
They took a very drastic approach to solving that issue, and exactly. I don't even think you can. And you can't even tip them either. You just pull up, they pump your gas, and you leave.
I used to live in New Jersey as a kid, and it drove my father crazy. He's like, I can pump my own gas, but yes, in New Jersey you can't. Well, just give you an idea. This happened to me 2 weeks ago. You've got Chick-fil-A in Florida, right?
Yes.
I stopped at Chick-fil-A. I got 4 sandwiches, 4 crisscross fries. I didn't buy the soda pop because we have soda pop at home. I'm driving home. I'm like, that was really expensive. So I'm stopped at a red light and I look at it. They charged me $12.92 for takeout food. I'm like, if I ate at Chick-fil-A, I wouldn't have to pay $12.92. So even though I'm saving taxes, with the business trust, I'm saving 90% on federal income taxes and no longer paying North Carolina state income taxes. And with the beneficial trust, all investors no longer pay taxes on any profit. So I'm saving taxes, but I'm still paying food tax. I'm still paying takeout tax. I'm still paying gas tax. I'm still paying, when I spend my money, I still pay taxes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What you're saying is, depending on their ideological beliefs, even if you found a way to avoid voluntary federal taxes, you still are doing your part for your local area for sales taxes and things of that nature.
Correct. And I don't know about in Florida, but here in North Carolina, they decide when you go to Walmart or you go to the supermarket, they decide what's your good, healthy food. That's taxed at 2%. Your bad food is taxed at 7%. I'm like, okay, what's the bad? I go through my receipt trying to figure out what the bad food is. Potato chips, candy, ice cream, bad food.
Hold on. So what? Hold on. So what area? So you are incentivized by lesser sales tax to buy healthy food. What area did you say that was?
I live just outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, in a town called Cary. Literally, it's a suburb of Raleigh, and they tax us extra for bad food.
Wow, I can get behind that. I can get behind that, especially in just like you said, you can go back and research and be like, hold up. So they taxed me. So you might have not known that this is considered bad, but the fact that they just taxed you 7%, that's an indicator. Now,
Correct.
One thing that I heard you mention that I think, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I'll never give up ice cream. Ice cream is a God-given right to eat, so it's never going to happen.
Ice cream is amazing. Ice cream, you scream, we all scream
for ice cream. Yes.
Hopefully, I don't get no copyright infringements for that. That I grew up. I remember that those commercials back in the day. One thing that I heard you mention that I know might be a hesitation for some people, right? Because I'm very familiar with revocable living trusts, and one of the reasons why people are okay with that is because they still maintain control. One thing that I know about irrevocable trust while you're alive is you essentially have to cut the strings. Is that true in this instance, where you have to have a trustee outside of yourself?
The difference between irrevocable and revocable, the main difference is irrevocable never ends. It keeps going from generation to generation. Revocable is just the one generation. I moved to North Carolina because I do a special real estate way to do real estate. When I go to the county courthouses, they will not let us use LLCs, S Corps, or C Corps. You have to sign your name. So I sign my name, Sally Gimon, TTE, trustee of the trust, and that gets the property into the trust. If I decide I'm going to wholesale it or if I'm going to turn it into seller financing, it doesn't matter. It's already in the trust. Other people who have to move it into their LLC have to do a separate transaction to get it in there here when we do upset bids here.
Okay, so the person is alive. They established an irrevocable trust.
Correct.
Do they have to name another trustee outside of themselves or no?
Here's a yes/no answer. I'm single.
Okay.
When I started my trust, I was living in Arizona. I went to Wells Fargo to open up my trust. I'm talking to a private banker, and he's like, we won't open this up until you get an associate trustee, because if I get hit by a school bus or hit by lightning and I die, who's taking over? I'm like, so I have my oldest nephew. He's my associate trustee. He's a beneficiary now, but when I die, he takes over the trust, and then my wishes are taken care of, whatever I decide, and then he starts a trust, and it goes from generation to generation. Worst case scenario, if you start the Spendthrift Trust, your great-great-grandson in 2095 decides you were crazy, and he cancels the trust. Why? I don't know, because he's not paying anything for it. He is responsible for any taxes saved in 2095. Anything saved in 2025, 2026, 2030, 2045, 2060, 2070, all those taxes, he'll never have to pay back. That's
amazing. And you're really making me want to. You're really making me want to go more into spendthrift. Because one of the things that I do is I'm a registered continuing education and pre-licensing instructor when it comes to insurance and financial services.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we actually talk about spendthrift trust as not spendthrift trust, but the spendthrift clauses that are inside of the trust. And one of the ways that I help the students remember what it is when they're getting tested on it, because in the way we utilize it is the beneficiary gets an inheritance. It goes into the trust that has a spendthrift clause, and none of the creditors can get to the money because of that. The way that I help people remember that is, and typically you have these things in place for people who aren't good with money. That's typically why you want a spendthrift clause for your beneficiaries. And the way that I have people remember this, I say, anybody ever heard of a thrift store? And everybody says yes. And then I say, well, I know a lot of successful people, very trendy people that shop at thrift stores, but for the most part, people who go to thrift stores are usually low on money, right? And if you low on money, you don't want nobody coming taking. You probably got some debt, and if you got some debt, you got some creditors, and if you got some creditors, you want to avoid these creditors getting to your money. And so when you want to remember what a spendthrift clause does, just imagine you walking up to a thrift store, watching somebody spend money and you're looking through, usually those thrift stores have those beige windows. Yeah, you can see in, might be some bars on it. And you say, just imagine that. And that's how you do that. But it sounds like what you're doing is one of my mentors, Doug Andrew. He has this thing where he asks people, and now I do it. He asks people, he say, what creative things can you do with baking soda? And then, everybody starts talking about you can clean with it, you can deodorize with it, you can do all types of stuff, but nobody ever says what it was actually made for. Nobody ever says you can bake with it, right? Don't think about what it is, think about what it does. It sounds like that spendthrift is typically meant to keep, at least in the way that I've always utilized it, it's typically meant to keep creditors away from a beneficiary of an inheritance. But what y'all have done is saying, all right, well, you can actually keep creditors away from it while you're alive.
Exactly. The law firm I work, but my contact at the law firm, he's in Houston, Texas, and he tells the story about a gentleman who is the third generation, so the grandson of the person who started the Spendthrift Trust. He refused to pay anybody who came and did work on the ranch because he's like, I don't have to. And when he passed away, it went to his heirs, and they didn't have to pay the people who work there. That's not fair. If someone does work for me, I'm going to pay them. But if I have 3 online businesses where I make 1099 income, those businesses, I file a 1041 tax return, not a 1040. So there's a difference there. And then you were talking about retirement. Do you know about IRMA for people who make too much money in retirement?
Yes.
With the Spendthrift Trust, every October, the IRS goes back 2 years. So October 2025, they went back to 1040 tax returns of 2023. They add everything together. How much you're getting from Social Security, if you have a pension, if you're doing a 401k withdrawal, if you're doing a SEP withdrawal, if you have wages, if you have capital gains, interest, they add it all together. If you're single and you make more than $106,000 in a year, or if you're married and you make more than $212,000 in a year, you're being surcharged on your Part B and Part D of Medicare. With the Spendthrift Trust, because you file a 1041 tax return, that's completely avoided. So one of my clients, I won't use names, but they're a husband and wife. He's 70, she's 68. They contacted me because they wanted to save dividend income taxes. He was a financial planner. He purposely got dividend income coming in. And when I asked him if they were being paid IRMA, he was unaware. Both he and his wife were paying $485 a month for Social Security. They still have to pay the I don't know how much it is in 2026, but in 2025, $185 per month, each one of them, from their Social Security number. But they got to save $300. They got to save an extra $600 per month because they started the Spendthrift Trust. And she was ecstatic. He's like, how much were we paying? He was unaware of that.
Oh yeah, a lot of people, and just to touch on what you just mentioned, a lot of people think that they're going to be getting their Social Security tax free. Like in their minds, this is free money. Now, the Internal Revenue Code doesn't necessarily say that Social Security should be taxed, but what it does say that if you are making so much provisional income under, and these are indexed, right? Is index a level for single individuals, also index the higher level for married individuals, people who do married filing jointly, and they don't realize you have to find ways to legally move income out of your provisional income in order to allow you to not have to pay money on taxes on Social Security, because you up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxed. Most people don't know that, but the reason why up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxed. Now, the reason why I brought this up, because it's something that I want to share with people. That, of course, and because you mentioned thresholds. Usually when you're an unmarried individual, the threshold is lower than if you are married filing jointly for different benefits that you can get. What a lot of people don't know is people who live together and they do married filing separately, you're treated like lepers. Married filing
Can I tell you what they did?
Oh,
Can I tell you what they did on January 1st of 2025?
tell me, please. Tell me.
There's 4 ways to file your taxes. Single's the most expensive way. Then there's head of household.
Okay.
You're single with children 18 or younger in the house. Married filing separately. And then the cheapest way is married filing jointly. On January 1st of 2025, the IRS changed married filing separately to be the same as single all the way up to 35% tax bracket. The only tax bracket you get a break at is at 37%. I talked to a woman in Texas in July. She called her CPA. She started digital marketing on TikTok and made $100,000 in 5 months. And she's just like, what should I do? Her CPA said to her, your husband has a W-2 job. You have a 1099 job. You need to file separately and he'll file jointly. And I'm like, no. I took her out, showed her the tax brackets. We got to save them at least $5,000 going from married filing separately to jointly. And then because she's making so much money now, they started the trust. And she's like, how come my CPA didn't know this? I'm like, I can't answer that. I don't know why your CPA is telling you bad information.
And this is what I share with people, because everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of people have CPAs, a lot of people have bankers, a lot of people have insurance people, right? I tell them there's only 2 reasons why they didn't tell you this stuff. Either they didn't know or they didn't care to tell you. Which one do you prefer?
Okay, can I just tell you a true story? I'm in a national real estate group, and there's a CPA who talks on the videos and everything. He has an office in Phoenix. The gentleman who ran our real estate group in Phoenix, he and I made an appointment with him. I'm not going to use a name. And we go in there and explain to him how real estate investors will save capital gains when you sell something, interest income taxes if you have subject to, if you are doing the BRRRR strategy, if you're doing seller financing, and then rental income taxes. He sat there twiddling his pencil. He goes, okay, thank you. And I was just like, thank you? Don't you want to work with us? We walk out, and the gentleman who ran the real estate group goes, he makes so much money for him to open up an LLC. He charged $7,000 when you can do it in Arizona for $50 with the corporation commission online, and then to make an S corp and everything else. He was in it to make money, and I'm like, I wish him well, but he was not looking out for his client. Well, he was looking out for his wallet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and what you just said, because just to be clear, us as business owners, capitalists, we're all in it to make money. But what you just point out was a distinction. It's the best way to make money is by helping other people make money. And even though you share this thing that could potentially help his customers, he didn't want to lose his bread basket by teaching them something that they should know. And so once again, either they didn't know or they didn't care to tell you.
Exactly. And quite a few of my clients, have you heard of a company called Moderna? It's a weight loss company. No. One of the guys who's high up, he's got over 600 affiliates under him in 4 different countries. He lives in upstate New York. I got to save him. He was making a $500,000 a year, saved him a lot of money in taxes. One of the things he started was his own charity because his wife was a Vietnamese boat person who came over from Vietnam when she was 6 years old. They start their own charity to help people who are starting out anew. And he's just like, I'm saving taxes, but I want to give back to my community. Several of my clients have amazing charities they're working with.
I'm actually, I start this, I have a lot of professional designations, the alphabet soup, as my mentor calls it. I have more letters after my name than in my name. But one of the designations that I'm starting next year, because I'm a lifetime student, is actually the Chartered Advisor in Philanthropy. Right. So I'm definitely. Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about that. What is the IRS memo? The IRS memo.
This is kind of funny. Last week was Thanksgiving. I'm sorry if I'm dating you right now, but last week, 5 separate people on TikTok and on YouTube said to me, this is the IRS memo, that they don't like it. The IRS did a memo on August 3rd of 2018, where they literally said they do not like tax code 643B. They do not like the irrevocable, complex, discretionary, non-grantor spendthrift trust. This memo is 6 pages long. In 4 different places, it said, this is not tax information for you. It's their opinion. My opinion, I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of vegetables. The worst vegetable in the world is lima beans. My mom, who was from Ireland, loved lima beans, and we had them probably 3 or 4 times a month. And you can't cut them in half, and you can't swallow them whole. You have to chew them, and they're disgusting. So I do not like lima beans. And, I'm going to be honest. Our current president's dad started the trust. Donald Trump is a trust baby. The Kennedys, who were also a president, they had the trust. Too many senators know about this. Too many Congress people know about this. Do you know those, I forget what they're called. Those, they make money for them. All their major donors probably know about the trust. They're not going to change. Only Congress can change the tax code. And they kept us closed for 40 days? My brother, who's a Secret Service agent, didn't get paid. He had to take money from his 401k to pay for, he's got 3 kids, to pay for food and gas to get to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what you're saying is all of the quote unquote important people, they're doing it to where it's probably not going to go away. It's kind of like the life insurance where, every couple of years, a lot of people think these internal revenue codes are going to get changed for the worse, which is too many well-to-do people who know about it to take away. The most they can do is try to slow us down. I remember in the 1980s, they had to come up with Tamra, Tefra, and DEFRA to slow down the amount of money that the average citizen can just put into a life insurance policy. And go ahead. You're about to say something.
Do you know about MEC, Modified Endowment Contract? You and I are the same age, same weight, same everything else. You're a CPA. I work in the food industry. Because you make more money than I do, you can have more life insurance than I can in the food industry. Because the federal government gets to decide how much life insurance someone can have. That's not fair. That's discriminatory actions and everything.
Oh yeah. One of the things we say is you don't want to mech it up. Right.
That's yes.
There are times where an endowment is good for somebody. If somebody just wants to get money out of their estate and their main purpose is having it growing tax deferred and then passing to the next generation tax free, do an endowment. But for the most part, if somebody wants to use a life insurance policy for tax free income, you don't want it to be a mech. How do you and the people that you work with decide who is the best life insurance agent to partner with when it comes to these things?
That's kind of interesting. We talked a little bit about life insurance. Have you heard of Nelson Nash and Be Your Own Banker?
Yes.
I have 2 different infinite banking policies. One's with One America that I started in 2019 and I couldn't change it. My other one's with Foresters, and people keep telling me that they use what is it, IULs?
Yeah, Index Universal Life. Mm-hmm.
You can get more returns with it. We talk about insurance, and I tell them you need to talk to your insurance agent, and instead of being in Mary Sue's name, the life insurance now needs to be in XYZ Spendthrift Trust name, because when she passes away, the money goes back into the account and goes to the beneficiaries. It's tax-free, but we want to keep it going tax-free, if that makes sense. So that's the only conversation I have about insurance. Most of my clients are well-heeled, because if you're making $100,000 gross in every year in 1099 income, you will save 5 figures in taxes. That's how I advertise the business trust. And I just talked to a husband and wife who live in Maryland, who are Legal Shield. They've done it for 6 years and they're getting residuals for doing Legal Shield. They heard one of my videos about Irma. He's 62, she's 61, and they know they're coming up near Medicare. And when I found out they made $220,000 a month, how much did I save them? Per month, they're going to save $3,006 per month in federal income taxes and no longer pay Maryland state income taxes. And they're like, sign up. They signed up for it right away, the Spendthrift Trust.
Oh man, that sounds good. And yeah, because it's so many things that you can attach with this. And just to give a quick feedback on how I know, like let's say if somebody wanted to attach a life insurance policy to one of these things, one of the best ways that I've shown people to determine if their life insurance policy is structured correctly, because just like you said, you can use a whole life policy, you can use a index universal life policy, and historically, the index universal life policy does get bigger returns, regardless of what tool that you use, because that's all life insurance is. It's just a tool.
Exactly.
It has to be used correctly, just like the trust. They're just tools. You need to work with the right people, like Sally, like with the attorneys that she worked with, to make sure that it's done correctly. One of the best ways for you to determine if your policy, your whole life policy or index universal life policy was structured correctly, what you do is you find what's called the internal rate of return. You eliminate all of those pages of reports. What you do is you take how much premium you paid into it. So you take all of the premiums and you add them up over the months and the years that you paid into the policy. And then you take the available cash value, and then you subtract all of the premiums you paid from the available cash value. Then you take that difference and then you divide it again. You divide it by all of the premiums you paid. What'll happen is minus all of the fluff, minus all of the narratives, you will see exactly what that internal rate of return is, minus the fees, minus all of the administrative costs, minus the cost of insurance. And because it's life insurance, and if you access it correctly, it's tax free. If you see that your internal rate of return is less than 3%, more than likely your policy was structured incorrectly. More than likely.
That's a horrible rate of return, 3%. Yikes.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. But what'll happen is when people do that algorithm, that formula that I just told you, most policies are getting a return of less than 3%. But here's the last thing, because this episode is about you. I don't want to take it over. But the last thing is,
we're having a great conversation.
Oh yeah. So most people have you ever heard of a 1035 exchange?
A 1031 exchange. I mean, correct.
Yeah, so most people are aware. Go ahead.
The problem with that, I talked to several adult children whose parents are incapacitated. When you go and sell a 1031 exchange and don't know that you need to put that money back into a 1031 exchange, all those taxes come back due again. And they're getting these humongous tax bills, and their parents are living in assisted living or something like that. But yes, I've never done a 1031 exchange. I just wholesale or I hold.
Yeah, and most people know about 1031 exchanges when it comes to taking profits from one property that you sell and put it into another property to avoid the taxes. A 1035 exchange,
I don't know that. Sorry.
What it does is it allows a person to take a life insurance policy that isn't performing well. It allows a person to go to another agent. And what the agent has to do is put together a product that's better than that one. And then they have to show their that person's current carrier. They have to show it to the carrier, and the carrier has to agree that what this new agent just did for you is better. And then once they agree that what they did for you is better, you're able to do a 1035 exchange and take a product that isn't performing well and put it into a product that is performing well, something that's averaging at least 7 to 10% tax-free annually.
I have to apologize. I've never heard of a 1035 exchange, so excuse me.
Well, you taught me a lot on this call. I'm glad I was able to teach you something. So how about this? What's the difference? And I'm sorry, we're right at 44. If you're willing to give me another 10 minutes, I would.
I can talk. You're my last appointment of the day, so yes, we can talk.
All right, perfect. So. What's the difference between capital gains tax and ordinary income tax?
Great question. Capital gains tax is when you sell something at a profit. One of my real estate deals that I did, he was leaving his everyday home and going into assisted living. We went up to the attic. Unfortunately, his son died during the opioid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. I can't say it. All his baseball cards were still literally in the packages. That we found 4 Ken Griffey Jr. rookie cards. Do you know a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card is worth $44,000 a piece?
I did not know that. I know now.
So we found, so we went through them. I have a contact who's into baseball cards, and we were able to sell these cards to him. And because he had the beneficial spendthrift trust, he didn't have to pay the son. Let's say the son back in 1982 bought this deck of cards for $25, and now he's selling it in 2024 for $44,000. That in between, that's what a capital gain is. Ordinary income is quite a few states, New York especially. Florida doesn't have it, but New York especially says if you're making any income from anything, let's say you're doing a side hustle, selling something, that's ordinary income, and it gets added and you get taxed on it. New York has a pay scale for it. Here in North Carolina, it's a set tax on ordinary income that capital gains, interest income taxes, dividend income taxes, rental income taxes, and royalty income taxes are taxed as ordinary income here in North Carolina.
So it's, if somebody had to choose, which would they prefer to do? Or because I know you say rather do none of them, but if you had to choose between something being considered ordinary income or capital gains, which should they prefer?
Here's a yes/no answer for what I do to help people save money. If they're I can't help W-2 income earners. If you're working for the boss, you get your paycheck after all the taxes are taken out, your FICA, your state, everything else. So if you're making 1099 income, you need the business trust. If you are an investor, I don't care what you're doing, you need the beneficial trust. I personally have both trusts because I have 1099 income on my 3 online businesses. And then I do a lot of real estate and I have a crypto bot. That's why I have the beneficial trust for that too.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but the tax code was made to benefit business owners, not individuals. And it sounds like what you're saying is if you are a W-2 worker, you need to get started on finding some 1099 income sooner than later.
Google, I just researched this for a presentation I did 2 weeks ago. Google says 40% of W-2 income earners are doing a side hustle, a 1099 side hustle to make ends meet in the month of September of 2025. So there's a lot of people out there doing 1099 income. I told you about the husband and wife in Texas. She started doing digital marketing because they have 3 kids and she wanted to stay as a stay-at-home mom. She started a side hustle and she made it her full-time business.
Wow. Yeah. And that is one of the, everybody has their own memories from, COVID and the shutdown and all that. But one thing that I know is some of the business owners I know, that's the most money they ever made in their business. And a lot of people who were lifetime employees were forced to start a business, and now they're very successful. Exactly.
And what was it? I don't remember the quote. Intuity is the mother of creation. I'm not saying the word right, but when you come up to a rock in a hard place, we find out ways to get around. You either go under, over, or around. So exactly.
Oh, absolutely. One last question for you, Sally, and thank you so much for the information that you shared.
Oh, you're welcome.
What is your definition of success?
My definition of success is when I can make my own decisions. If I decide, this is a true story, I stayed up until almost midnight last night watching a football game because it was my team playing and they were doing really, really well. That meant that today I didn't have to get up until 9 o'clock in the morning, so I got to sleep in. If I had a 9-to-5 job and I had to be someplace, I'd have to set my alarm to get up to go to work. I love the life I lead. I can do what I want when I want.
Options, right? It's about having that option to stay up late because you have that option to sleep in. Definitely. Sally Gimon, are you successful? I'm
starting my real estate empire and I'm helping a lot of people. I'm Can I tell you a funny story?
Yes.
One of my nieces, I have 7 nieces and nephews. One of my nieces went to a private school, and she's working for a county in California, making $35,000 a year, living paycheck to paycheck. She and I had an agreement. I was going to help her pay her student loans for her. She wasn't supposed to tell anybody about it. Last Christmas, she tells her 2 sisters, "I'm paying her student loans."
Oh,
so
breach of contract.
So now I'm helping 3 nieces and 2 nephews pay off student loans, and I want them to be successful. So I'm getting there. I'm almost there, if that makes sense. I'm going to tell you a bad story. I was the last graduating class of my high school in 1984. It shut down. Ronald Reagan's financial advisor came and talked to us. We only had sophomores, juniors, and seniors in my high school at the time. He's like, all of you people out there, when you turn 65, there's going to be no Social Security for you. That scared the bejesus out of me. And so this is why I am going to be financially free if I live to be 105 years old, I have enough money to live on. That's my goal.
Absolutely. And for me, based off of your definition of success, you are already successful. It sounds like you have options to me. I want to thank you so much for coming. Is there any question that I didn't ask that I should have asked?
Just if someone is interested, I do a free mastermind every Monday evening, 5 p.m. East Coast time. If you're on LinkedIn, I'm the only Sally Gimon out there on LinkedIn. You can register for it because my goal is to teach as many people the secret of the rich. It took me 5 months to research this. Hopefully someone can hear about this and find out how to save taxes so easily.
Absolutely. Sally Gimon, thank you so much for coming on the Entreprenudist Podcast and sharing this knowledge. One more time, if people want to get in touch with you, and I forgot to ask this, I apologize. If anybody wanted to introduce you to somebody, who is the preferred ideal person for them to introduce you to?
I'm looking for a business owner, an entrepreneur, a franchisee owner, or a 1099 income earner who's making at least $100,000 gross per year. Doesn't matter how they file their taxes, they will save 5 figures in taxes. You're in Florida, you'll save federal taxes. Here in North Carolina, it's 2.5% state income taxes. You'll save that also. I'm also looking for any investors who are making money and want to stop making it. I personally wholesaled 7 bank-owned properties in 2019, and I got a $94,000 tax bill I wasn't planning on. I didn't think I was being very successful, but people told me that's a lot of wholesaling. Since I started the trust, I've wholesaled 28 properties.
Got it. All right. So if you want to have this same knowledge and do this same stuff like Sally Gimon, please reach out to her at www.thetrustisyou.com. www.thetrustisyou.com. Sally, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This has been
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. This has been another episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, a place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. And if you're listening to our voices, be sure to check the show notes to see more information on Sally, as well as a link to watch the video version of this Entreprenudist Podcast so you can see our beautiful ebony and ivory faces. Check in with us again in the future because the Entreprenudist Podcast is coming to you multiple times a week with different information that you can use, not just learn it, but apply it. Sally, thank you.
Thank you.